Hello. Good morning. My talk wouldn't be that technical as the one before. When we heard about that Sotten came to Belgium, we were very glad. And when the call for proposals came to us, one of my colleagues said, why don't we write a love letter to OSM? Because we like it very much in our daily use. So I'm not that good in writing love letters, so I give it a try. When preparing this talk, I was thinking, when did we fall in love with Openstreetmap? It was, I think, some 5-6 years ago, but it was not love at first sight. It was more like, nice, interesting, maybe we could do something with it. But when the years went by, we liked Openstreetmap more and more. And at a given point, you realize it's not just interest, it's more. You rely on each other, you see each other every day. We began to believe in Openstreetmap as one of the biggest commons in, at this moment. So maybe it could be love to Openstreetmap, because we are also going over commons of 3 parts. So until here, the love story. Who are we? We are Trage Wegen, literally translated as slow roads. We are going over public paths. We are a non-profit organization that stands for the public right-of-ways in Flanders and in Brussels. Without going in detail, we want to try to preserve the old footways. Like we always say, using a path is preserving that path, and often used paths needs less maintenance. But like you may think, we are not only active in the countryside, we also have activities in the cities, and no, we didn't paint that. But besides the old roads, we're looking further. The world changes constantly. Paths come, paths go. Like people, more especially walking people, they look always for the most suitable track to go from point A to point B. If a building is getting down and there's free space and they can make a shortcut, they will do it. So people design elephant paths like these ones. Not designed by spatial planners, but just people like you and me. And the thing is, how can we let people use those paths? Both the old ones and the new ones. The question is simple: put them on a map. Let people know where they can find them. All this, the flexibility and the immediate result, makes Openstreetmap a logical choice to us. Besides that, a lot of services, both free and commercial, rely on Openstreetmap to make their business. So we put our business, the public plots, into Openstreetmap, so they will be walked by and cycled by thousands of enthusiast people every weekend and so on. But putting things on the map is not only one thing we do more than that. We organize activities, we inform people, we engage people to stand for the right of free access over common land. For the people who don't know, there's access for everyone on the thing. That's one of the activities. Besides that, we give information about rights and obligations. We help local governments to recover and preserve public paths. So that's what we do in one slide. One of the many things we do is making inventories of the location and the state, the condition of public paths. We do that by checking if the legal way still exists in the field, and we are not only looking for the ways that exist, but we also want to know the ways who disappeared, what is their state, because maybe we can reopen some of them. In the early days, when making an inventory, we put the open ways into Openstreetmap by Potlatch. That's an old editor. I did it after my work in the evening because it was fun, and we thought we could do something with it. It's pleasant, but not very efficiently. So when only I had the time, I did it. So beside us, there are other professional actors who take care of our topic. Over the time, we saw our inventories diverged from the others. We took something else with it, they took something others with their inventory. And over a period of 5-6 years, we had over the same topic, we had different attributes. So the 5 provinces and us, we decided to standardize all our inventories and to join them together in one database. It's called the Slow Roads Registry. It was born, I think, about 1 year ago. It's still a work in progress because we have to translate everything to the new standards. But the important thing is it's open data. Everyone can use it. It's WMS, it's WFS. It can be downloaded. It can be viewed by OSM and other things. And from the moment it was realized and online, we saw on the talk list in the community that there was a higher activity of mapping slow roads from local mappers, because that was possible of open data. Now, one of the things on my to-do list here is putting those transformations from our attributes to the tags used by Openstreetmap to make the comparison easier and add missing tags. I know it's a little bit work to do, but you can find them, I hope, till the end of the year at this page. Now, looking back till now, we noticed we changed from an active mapper to, as an organization, to a facilitator. And I believe in our situation as an organization, this is more efficiently than putting those things ourselves on the map, because we give it to everybody and there are more people who can take care of those data. But it doesn't stop here. We are working on a feedback tool in the project we do in Brussels. More about that later, because we want to know not only if they exist, but changes happen, people going on the terrain, and what happened to those public parts. And feedback is important to preserve those parts again. And it's important to put changes into Openstreetmap again. Besides contributing to Openstreetmap, we also make use of Openstreetmap almost daily to make analysis. Most of the time we do it by QGIS. Not a wonderful open source project, but I don't go into that. It just can talk with Openstreetmap and so on. It can't give things back, but it can talk with Openstreetmap. I have 3 examples of analysis we make with Openstreetmap. The first one, simplest one, is comparing maps by site. We want to know the old legal ways projected on the left of the screen is an old atlas made in 1840. So they made very good work without technical aperture to do that. And we compare them with the state today. Besides the roads registry from, in English, Flemish Information Agency, we make use of Openstreetmap. After the desktop work, we or some volunteers go in the field to check the condition of the parts in the field. We use that inventories as a base for local public consultations we make about what's people thinking about the future of their local slow roads. And then it goes back to the database and hopefully into the Openstreetmap database. But the main reason why we love OSM is that it has the potential to contain everything that can be on a map. OSM made the world of geographical data accessible to everyone. Individuals, tiny organizations, small local administrations. The only thing you have to do is learn to use it. The first time you see it, you think, oh no, what's this? But once you're through it, it reads like a book. You know what tags they can be used for parts, surface, speed, and so on. It's just a step. It's a big step to take, but it's the only investment you have to make. The second example goes about the analysis of green, functional, and meaningful roads. It's an analyzing about routes for pedestrians and cyclists between the livelihood and, for example, working place or school. We want to look for routes that meet some proposed criteria, like it has to be secure, as less cars as possible. It has to be nice. It has to go through natural environment, with water, flowers, grass, trees. It has to be functional, as short as possible. It has to be comfortable, which surface it has, are there shelters on the way, when it's raining they can hide. To make calculations on the route. Why OpenStreetMap? There are a lot of different data you need, and before we needed to collect a lot of sources, and with sources you always have to translate and transform data to communicate with each other, to compare. Almost all of those criteria we can find in OpenStreetMap if it is mapped. If you need bus stops, just check OSM. If you need to know if there's a walking route in the territory, just check the multi-line strings through OpenStreetMap, through QGIS. If you want to know if there are squares that can be crossed by pedestrians, just look in the multi-polygons and search for the tag highway is pedestrian. So it contains everything that could be interesting. Now, a summary of the whole process looks like this. I'm not going in detail, but downloading, processing to get the things you want, making things topological, bridges don't split it by the rivers and so on, and then give a value based on those criteria. Not the last step, and then you can go make a routing over the most valuable route. If you see the average isn't that high, we can advise local governments to do something about that, to put more green around the roads, to put more safe roads. And we hope that they can achieve this to create more meaningful, green and functional routes around there for the inhabitants. And the thing is, if hopefully the governments achieve this, and then when they did it, they put it back into OpenStreetMap, and then people can routing along this. Another project, the last one I will point on it, is Stapas. Here we make, it's in Brussels. It's about slur roads in Brussels, not Brussels city, but the entire communities around it. We make a re-inventory of an atlas we made 3 years ago. And the thing is, we want to do the re-inventory because we don't want only make a new atlas, we also want to make a routing app for pedestrians and wheelchair users that's adapted to the Brussels context. You know, you've been walked through Brussels, there are a lot of parks at night, most of them are closed, there are a lot of stairs, there are steep roads, so for wheelchair users it's not that comfortable. So we are trying to gather information about that and then collect everything to be routable. The process looks like that, the inventory of 2014 comparing to the state today, going in the fields, gathering information, put it back into OpenStreetMap, so it can be used by the people who will make the app, but can be used by everybody. So that's the first slide I said, using parts as preserving those parts. That is our core business. Our core business is not making apps, but if we can, or if it's needed in a project to do, we do it. Our core business is making parts accessible for everybody. So in our projects, we always want to make a step or 2 steps that returns things back to the community, not only the OpenStreetMap community, but maybe other communities like there can be. Dreaming. Before starting to dream, I want to throw out a call. I'm looking around. I hope there's some politicians among you. I don't know. But I want to call, team up with your local government. Why? We know that several members of the Belgian OpenStreetMap community have working hard to try to convince governments to use OpenStreetMap and to look at it as a major geographic database which have meaningful information. We believe in it. From our experience over the last year, it's worth to have a closer look at it because it offers possibilities for local administrations to make their life easier. Some examples. Last month, we got a question from an alderman. He wanted to make a city map with all slur roads on it. And like you know, local governments, their budget is not that high. So his question was, and how can we do it as less expensive as it is possible? I said, use OpenStreetMap. It's free data. You can use it for your own purposes. It's well documented. There are online tools to achieve maps, like Maposmatic, for example, to create city maps. It's a little example. Another example is, based on well-defined tags, it is possible to achieve some maintenance scheme for maintenance the local parts, or maybe something else. Like, if you think, give me all parts on my territory who contains the tag compacted surface, and check them every 2 years. Give me all parts with surface grass that belongs to some walking route, check them every twice a year, and all the other parts, just check them once a year. It's possible to gather from OpenStreetMap if it is mapped. So if it isn't mapped, local governments, please organize a mapping party with your local inhabitants, gather those information, and then you can do these things without having expensive infrastructure to keep geodata. That's my call to it. And then, at last, the dream we have. An atlas of alternatives. We are an organization, we are dreamers, we want to try to make the world a better place, we know. We want to make an atlas of alternatives, an atlas that contains the commons. OpenStreetMap is a common, a creative common. There are a lot of other commons, like think of landed commons or innovative forms of citizen-led governance of public property. You have CSI, community-supported agriculture, free harvesting places. You have cooperatives, fabrication labs. Think of free little libraries or a network of places suitable for playing children. Think of every ID that would make the world a common place. And we believe that the structure of OpenStreetMap and the knowledge of every mapper can make such an atlas. And through preparing the talk, I found some examples of projects, and one of them is a European project called transformmap.co. And that seems to have worked around a manner to achieve this. Most of the data is in Germany, so let's say start mapping those things in Flanders and help us creating our dream for real. So this was my talk with love from Brussels to OpenStreetMap.
Any questions for Pieter?
So if I understand well, there are two databases of slow roads in Belgium or in Flanders. One from the government or the local authorities or the provinces, and the other one is OpenStreetMap. Yes. So what's your vision about that? How can it be synchronized, and what's the future?
The problem is we also invent the disappeared legal way. We make inventories of the disappeared, and things that are on the are on the terrain can be imported in OpenStreetMap. So we have to keep the data of the legal ways. They have to be on the field, but they are a farmer took it, or there's some swimming pool on it, or some carport. So we have to know the information. We need more information than we can put into OpenStreetMap. So we have to gather it. We made a database to collect it and to standardize for all those professional actors. But we want to know, we want people let use the open roads. So we gave the opportunity to put them into OpenStreetMap. And I know it's a difficult thing to synchronize it. So we offered it as an open data source, so people can look by sight, and maybe some semi-automatic way to look for difference in tags. And we hope that people add some more information to that, but we don't want to give an automated way because it's too difficult to do that at this in our possibilities. So if one can achieve this, please do it.
Not really a question, but as a Belgian mapper, and we know each other, I just like to say that the love is mutual. So we've been having a lot of new mappers from your background, and it's fun that we don't have to answer all the same questions over and over again. Like, you can do it for us as well. So thanks.
It's well done for you. That's the thing we try to do in our job is give something back to the communities we're working for. We mostly work with local governments. So if we do something with local people, we try to make their place some better place for them by our core business, public paths, so people can use them. But if we have other projects like commons, we try to give something back. And we believe in Openstreetmap, and the policy I have is making an entrance because a lot of local governments are interested in our core business, there's legal paths. But once we have them on the hook, we can talk about Openstreetmap as of our organizations, but we don't register what they all do. Just we have some common interests, and then we hope we can learn from each other. So I cannot answer that question, I'm sorry.
Hi. I'm curious about lobbying activities that you mentioned. I'm curious about lobbying activities to change things. So for example, you mentioned the wheelchair accessibility. Can you elaborate a bit more on that? And if you had any success actually changing something through the local government, or getting them to provide better services, or those kind of...
We don't have changed yet anything, and the wheelchair activities, we didn't organize a mapping party like, you know, the mapping party used to the Openstreetmap community. We organize our own because we want to collect more info than we can put into Openstreetmap. And through the work we do, we extract the relevant info for Openstreetmap to give it back. And the wheelchair case, we use for Brussels also the Urbis data, because then we can have some more details about something. We don't look only on the slur roads, but on walking friendly roads also, with max speed 30, with, how do I say, as my colleague who does Brussels, maybe she can answer better. Hanne?
Hello, I'm Hanne, and I'm responsible for the project in Brussels concerning the inventory of all the slow roads and little paths adapted for pedestrians and wheelchairs. We are actually working at the moment on a re-inventory, like Pieter explained. The end of the project will be, like he said, an application for smartphone and an atlas that will be distributed in all of the region. And along with that project, we are working with 19 communities here in Brussels to improve their pedestrian policy. So at the moment, the lobbying is going on. We have direct lines with each of those communities where we are working together with the responsible for sustainable mobility in those communities, and all the data we are collecting through our inventory and through Openstreetmap will be used to inform those local communities to where the red spots on, let's say, are situated, where are the problems, where are people in wheelchairs, for example, have to make a detour that is out of this world, like, let's say. So this is what we do. We inform the local governments and we let them know where the red spots are, and we provide them with tools like how can we adapt those spots and etc. To make them better for all kind of pedestrians with feet or with wheels. So at the moment, project is ongoing. We cannot present you any results, but we are hopeful that this project that will continue next year will have some nice results in the future. Let's hope for 2020.
Okay, then let's thank our speaker again. There is a half-an-hour break. Coffee and tea are available for you in the Nelson Mandela downstairs. See you back in half an hour. Thank you.